Hey wrestling community, it's me again. Look, I'm still here. If you're new here, my name is Ari, and I got into WWE less than a year ago. These videos of mine are more or less me reacting to this year's characters and storylines, and trying my hand at analyzing them, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. In today's short video, I want to give you guys my thoughts on a couple of big story developments that have gone down between SummerSlam and Clash in Paris. We'll do a couple of follow-ups on some stories that I covered last time, and we'll also touch on a couple of stories that I haven't covered yet. Some pretty interesting stuff has gone down in these past few weeks, but also there have been some pretty questionable writing decisions that didn't land well with me, and I've been wondering if any of you guys felt the same way. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, first we gotta hit the John Cena storyline. Around the same time that I posted my last WWE video, John Cena turned face again via promo. And I'm having some pretty mixed feelings about how that all went down. Because on the one hand, Cena delivered that promo excellently. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've seen a Cena promo the way they're normally supposed to go. It's getting hot with those headphones. Remember, I didn't start watching the current roster until well after his heel turn this year, so that was the only version I'd ever seen him be before, and now I'm really into normal Cena. I think I finally get him and what he means to all his fans now, but like, as a formerly aspiring screenwriter, that whole change of heart was way too much tell and not enough show. You know what I mean? Like, sure, Cena could probably convince me he's a good guy again just by explaining to me in words how and why. He's clearly good at that, but at the end of the day, that promo was just a big exposition dump, wasn't it? Cena just broke down his whole off-screen psychological transformation in words, and we were just supposed to be like, yeah, sounds legit. I don't know. Personally, I didn't see any of that psychological transformation Cena was talking about while Cody was beating him up the week before. I just had to hear all about it later. If we'd seen the psychological transformation in Cena's actions after that night, I probably would have bought it easier. Like if he was put in this situation where he's forced to drop the heel act. Maybe if he was even driven to choose to stand up for Cody or any of his other past opponents. I don't know what would cause that. I'm not the writer here. Hell, he could have even dragged Triple H out there to scream at him personally. And I get that the way pro wrestling writing works, it's rare to have every story element line up in the most effective way possible. There's so many circumstances that can change, or things that can get in the way of your original plans. Like, for all I know, they totally planned on portraying this change in a different way, and it just didn't work out. That said, though, do we think there were any original plans? At least in terms of this whole heel turn arc, because it's been full of all these disposable plot points and characters and moments since the beginning. Need I remind you of all the Travis Scott and The Rock bullshit we had to sit through that led to nothing? So because of that, I wasn't 100% convinced that Cena was back to normal for good until his match with Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. I just didn't trust the writers to commit to the face turn, because I could still see them going back on it for any reason. Now, the match between Cena and Cody at SummerSlam was great. I loved finally seeing Cena in his element, and Cody Rhodes is such a great match for him. And their match finally gave me confidence in Cena's character. But then, Cena went from SummerSlam straight to fighting Logan Paul in Paris, and now he's also set to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestlePalooza for, like, nostalgia reasons. I don't think these two have even spoken words to each other since Brock crashed SummerSlam, and that was like a month ago. Well, guess who stopped by SmackDown last night? That's right, Brock Lesnar re-attacked Cena in Chicago, and I think he even said a few words at the end. So, dialogue officially opened? Again, it's like there's no real plan in place to carry Cena to the end of his retirement year. They're just kind of rounding people up to have honestly really good matches so far, but they're so weak in terms of story and build-up. I'm gonna hold out hope that this all makes more sense by December. Next, we have to talk about how the Seth Rollins injury was fake. Night 1 of SummerSlam featured CM Punk challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Punk won after drawing blood on Gunther and basically giving the guy a panic attack. Side note, I love that Gunther loses in these very specific ways. It establishes him as a serious threat, but you can totally beat him as long as you're smart about it. Gunther has weaknesses to find. Anxiety-related weaknesses, mainly, but they're there. Anyway, Punk held that belt for all of like 30 seconds before Seth Rollins' theme rang out. Seth walks out. He drops the crutches. We've been rused! And then Seth cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and he stole that belt right from under Punk. Wow, what a big moment. And I have mixed feelings about this one too. On the one hand, I could kind of see it coming leading up to the event, because the more I thought about it, the less sense it made to me that Punk would get this fully fledged World Championship title run this year, the same year as John Cena's retirement tour, and I don't know how well my wrestling logic really tracks here. I was just starting to doubt that they'd give Punk such a big comeback moment this year in particular. At least I thought they would have to make him work much harder for it, you know? Well, apparently my wrestling instinct isn't worth shit, because right after I recorded that video, the whole internet was blowing up with all these rumors about AJ Lee returning, and the company was totally feeding into that. And then it actually happened for real on SmackDown. No ruse. How refreshing. Anyway, I feel like I haven't even heard Cena's name in like a week. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that the faked injury made 100% sense either, because what was the point of it, other than to diminish LA Knight's win against Seth during the Saturday night main event, and then string the audience along for a few weeks while Heyman and the Brawns went on their little side missions? I mean, what did Seth gain from that exactly, other than a chance to be all, haha, fooled you world, I'm Seth freaking Rollins? This feels like this thing that everybody talks about nowadays, where WWE is more concerned with creating these viral moments than cohesive, engaging storylines in this era. Like, sure, that was a real cool shot of Seth dropping those crutches. Great job. Now what? At the time of recording this video, Seth is still holding the World Heavyweight Championship title. At Clash in Paris, he defended it in a fatal four-way match between him, LA Knight, CM Punk, and Jey Uso. And I didn't think that anybody but Seth was gonna win, honestly. But at least in this process, I've become an LA Knight fan. He's got this cool, retro action movie protagonist aura about him, and he's the guy who's always calling out all the other wrestlers on their bullshit. So naturally, I find him really likable. And I really hope we see him take home a world championship soon. But I guess I probably shouldn't hold my breath. Now let's talk about Naomi real quick. I was really enjoying Naomi's world title run while we had it. Naomi became this person who nobody backstage really knew what to do with. Like, whenever anybody had to interact with her for a backstage segment, the air would go still, and everybody would get so tense because nobody could predict what this girl was about to say or do. The only certainty was that Naomi was probably gonna insult them. And I loved that. It really set this tone that Naomi was this dangerous, unpredictable threat to everyone around her. And she performs the character so well. So everybody knows by now that Naomi's title run was unexpectedly cut short because she's pregnant, which is amazing news. She's spoken publicly at length about how ready she is to have her first child. The moment she formally announced it on Raw was so beautiful. Everyone was so supportive. Funny story, the night that it was announced that Naomi wasn't medically cleared to fight Io on that one episode of Raw, and then we saw Rhea go up to Io afterward when she was upset, for a second I was like, Wait.
Did Rhea hurt Naomi?
Yeah, I think all these ruses and fake injuries are officially making me paranoid, because I'm starting to see them everywhere. I don't know what to believe anymore. Anyway, all my good vibes and congratulations go out to Naomi. I'm looking forward to whenever we see her next. As far as the Women's World Championship title, Naomi was supposed to defend it during the Clash in Paris, but the company somehow couldn't figure out how to handle the situation in time, so they ended up scheduling the title match between Stephanie Vicaire and Io Sky for the new PLE WrestlePalooza this year. No offense, but seriously? They couldn't have come up with that in time for Paris? Seems like a pretty natural decision to me, but okay. And I feel pretty confident that Io's gonna win that one. Speaking of Io Sky, let's check back in with Io Sky. In my last video, I predicted that Io and Rhea Ripley would go through some kind of drama together, but it's going a way that I definitely didn't expect. If anything, I thought Rhea would be the one to demolish their relationship, but actually, Io's the one who's trying to distance herself due to pure pressure. Don't get me wrong, she's failing at it completely, but still. Lately, Io's getting a rough time from the Kabuki Warriors over her being friends with Rhea. She's mainly getting a lot of shit from Asuka. Now, I don't know a lot about Io and Asuka's history, but as I was introduced to them this year, it seems that Asuka tends to talk down to Io a lot, but she still expects some level of loyalty in return, which is pretty unfair to Io. The Kabuki Warriors forced their way into Io's corner for one of her matches. They tried to help Io win her match against Roxanne Perez, but unfortunately it mega backfired and Io got so upset. So she demanded that they just leave her alone for her matches going forward. But then the next week, Io fought Raquel Rodriguez, which was a great match, by the way. Side note, Raquel's really stepping it up lately. First of all, she is hot as hell. Yeah, I'll just say that out loud. But even better, her performance overall is noticeably better than it was like pre-Night of Champions. She's really locked herself in and pushed herself in all areas. She's whipping out all these really unique and physically impressive moves. Love that for her. Anyway, Io won that match, but as they do, Raquel and Roxanne attacked her afterward, and this time Rhea came to the rescue, which Asuka was very offended by. Ever since, Asuka and Rhea have been butting heads and stressing the fuck out of Io. So this whole situation is putting Io in this pretty interesting position where she might have to pick a side between the Kabuki Warriors and Rhea, or she might have to just reject everybody and become something of a lone wolf, which again, I think could be compelling as long as the story actually lands somewhere. Honestly, I'm a little wary that this whole thing started with the writers just like throwing darts at their drawing board and starting some superficial conflict to cope with the whole vacant world title situation. But maybe this means we'll get some good tag team matches between Rio versus the Kabuki Warriors. Or I can also see this kicking off a big rivalry arc between Asuka and Rhea. I'd also really like to see Kairi Sane get pushed to stand up for herself against Asuka. Kairi's in a pretty uncomfortable position right now because she was so stoked for the Kabuki Warriors to reunite just a couple months ago, but now she's got to constantly run back and forth between Asuka and everybody that Asuka has a problem with. That's gotta suck. Surely she feels a certain way about this and she'll hit her limit eventually, right? I guess we'll just have to see. Personally, I'm rooting for Rio to be eternal, but if they really break up, that could also be interesting to watch, as long as it's done well. The last thing I want to touch on real quick is whatever the fuck is going on with Bayley right now. So, Bayley's been going through it. Not only did Becky Lynch rob her of her tag team title match at WrestleMania, she also lost her shot at the Women's Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam. And she's also been screwed out of almost every match and title shot along the way. So it seems like the direction they're taking with Bayley right now is that she's going crazy. These past few weeks, she's been giving these pre-recorded promos where she argues with these aggressive voices inside her head. I think she's up to 2 inner voices right now, and they're getting her pretty confused about what her next move should be. Hell, they're kind of confusing me in terms of what to expect too. I think Bayley's doing a really good job building up this character shift in her promos, but I gotta say, the other best part about them is every time we cut to Lyra after afterward, and the girl looks terrified because Lyra knows that if Bayley goes full maniac, she's gonna be the first on her hit list. I don't know a whole lot about Lyra and Bayley's relationship pre-WrestleMania 41, but I feel like I know enough to support Bayley if she feels the need to go after Lyra, you know what I mean? At this point, they've both screwed each other over for an Intercontinental title shot, but Lyra screwed over Bayley first, and Bayley didn't mean to screw over Lyra, so as far as I'm concerned, I am looking forward to Bayley's revenge saga. Also, I'm looking forward to it because at this point, I still haven't seen Bayley in action much in general, so I think I caught her at this really interesting experimental moment for her character, and I'm excited to see what she does with it. Also, I really wanted Bayley to win that match at Evolution. I'm kind of over Becky. Is it just me? She's a really insecure character, and normally I like insecure characters, but she's like insecure in a way that's not very fun to watch. Like, we get it. You have a hot husband, so everyone who criticizes you is just jealous. Tell us more about what the audience owes you for main eventing WrestleMania that one time. Whatever. Bayley, if you see this, I'm on your side all the way. And that's all I have to go over with you guys today. If you guys agree or disagree with any of my takes, I would love to hear about it in the comments below as per usual. Do you guys love WWE's writing lately? Do you hate it? Or do you think that I know nothing about writing? Please let me know. But that's enough from me for today. Remember to proceed with caution, and I'll see you next time.